Hi guys, today has a very special guest for our video about how things went in YCS Bologna. I'm here with Julio Valss. Julio, I feel we had you in the channel every other week now, but you keep topping events, so I mean, what we're gonna do? How's it going, Julio? How you doing now? You're back in Spain, no? I'm assuming.
Yes, I come back this week from Italy, and I am come back to the work, sadly.
Well, at least it was a good weekend for you because you end up on top 8 of the YCS in Bologna that just happened a couple of days ago before this video is released. So if you guys want to keep track of how Julio played Beast, this is going to be the video for you. And this video also provides a really good starting point to think about the next format. I know there's a lot of people already thinking about crossover breakers. This video will give you I think the list that Julio put together is kind of a nice base to start thinking forward into crossover breakers and all those formats coming up. And also if you have an event this coming weekend, or if you're playing the deck currently, you know, this might be something you can prepare for the weekend. If you want to go ahead and play your locals, regionals, whatever event you have. Alright, first things, before we go over Julio's list and everything that has to do with Bologna, I think it will be important to mention a little bit of what happened in the event. If we go actually here to my screen share, in YCS Bologna, we actually end up having the Fires decks, as they have been doing throughout the whole year, dominate the event. So you have a Snake Eyes at the top, you have a Fistmic variant of Snake Eyes, you have some Jubels, you have some Tempest, and right below that we have Ritual Beast, which a lot of people are surprised about because we have 6 Ritual Beast players on the top god, which is, it was top 64, which is around 10%. And actually in attendance for the events, there was about 1% of the players playing Ritual Beast. So a very, very impressive performance from the deck. Some of the strongest, if not the strongest we have seen since the deck was released, which is a little counterintuitive since Ritual Beast supposed to die to all these Mulcharmys that we have. It's supposed to have no solutions against all these cards, but the deck is performing well still. So the deck is not as dead as some people might has painted to be for this format. Apart from that, we have Fire King in particular with the same amount of tops, and from there, you know, we have an assortment of decks going down. Now, while we're going to be covering Julio's list in this video, there were a couple of other topping lists. We have a topping list here from that made top 32, and it was from Jonas Pilat, and he was topping. Interestingly enough, he made some very interesting choices with his deck list here. He has Super Polymerization in the main deck, and with 2 targets in the extra decks. And we know the extra deck sometimes for some lists is very, very tight for Ritual Beast. So I just wanted to mention this. I find it very interesting. He decided to play the 2 Psychic and basically all Ritual Beasts, Super Poly, and just Nemesis package here with Animal. So a very, very unique list. And Julio, let me know if you want to jump in with any comments. Go ahead, because I feel...
Yeah, we need to put a counter in the list about the Bagooska, because I think that all the list of the Ritual played the Bagooska. In the Spanish podcast, I started to say that maybe Bagooska should have a space in the extra deck. And something that I like about this list is that you are playing 6 Mulcharmy, that in general Mulcharmy are bad cards if you are playing a full hand trap version. But in general, the approach when your opponent needs to front a Fuwalos or Purulia is make a weak table, and that weak table can be stopped by a Super Poly. That is a great card. Maybe I think that this player didn't respect Centurion, and in Rage of the Abyss exists a new target that can use a Dragon, Dark and Light plus another Dragon. So it's a good response against the Quasar, the Blazer and the Auxilia.
That's true.
The rest, I think that is a little crazy. Don't play the Ash Blossom in the main deck. Actually, is the principal piece that we have to stop the Fuwalos, and also he doesn't play Call by the Grave. That is a little crazy. He just forcing game 1 in case his opponents use a Fuwalos or Purulia. But at least he has Super Poly and Bagooska. The Fissure, I think that this is the best card that we can run actually in the Ritual Beast list. If we see the other list that isn't Ritual Beast, all are 20 cards handtraps in general, with Veiler, Droll, Ogre, and a lot of cards that instantly lose against the Fissure or Shifter. So this means that you can play so safely. Look, this is example. He plays the Ogre, Veiler, and other cards, so it's a very strong card for this format. Also, Tenpai was the most represented deck of the tournament, and I see that all the decklists this time respected a lot the Tenpai matchup, playing at least 3D barrier in the side deck. I like the list. Maybe the only one approach that I don't like is that he doesn't respect the Mulcharmys for the event.
Now, while there were 6 topping lists, we have 4 in hand. Obviously, we have Julio's that we're gonna show in a minute. We also have this other 2, and we're gonna just briefly touch on Antonio's list, because Antonio makes an interesting decision. I find it so interesting that every Little Beast player than top has a completely different approach, more or less, to the matchup. But here we see actually drop a Lockbear in the main deck, and not only that, we also see the approach with Cialantis. We see also here in the side deck the Harper Storm and the Conductor. What do you think about this, Julio?
Antonio is also from Spain, so we discussed it a little post the tournament. He played Bagooska like the same approach that I said to him, and he's playing the Heavy Storm. The Storm is a good card to try to play around Fuwalos, skipping the turn of your opponent. The problem that I have with the Storm, that I told him in the event, is in case your opponent stops you with an impermanence or any hand trap in general, sometimes it's difficult make a good link to use the Duster. This monster is only a card that lets you use the Harpy Trap, but I think that you could play other things that are better. Why? Because you can only stop you one turn, and sometimes you need a better recovery for the beginning turn. Spooky Dogwalk, I didn't got time in all the tournament, and I think that the only counter that you have with the Spooky Dogwalk is the second effect of the Temption, in case your opponent use the Vampire, and I think that this isn't necessary. Also, he is only playing the Fuwalos in the main deck, in the side deck, and one good approach, talking about Droll and Lockbeard, is that Droll and Lockbeard is a decent hand trap, of course, but in case your opponent use Droll and Fuwalos or Purulia, you can Droll and Lockbeard yourself and try to make a good table. So you are only getting one drop to your opponent, and then you can end on like Ultra Ratari, plus a trap that you will banish with Kanahau, and a rank force that we are playing now, Bagooska. So in this case, Droll here is not because you need a good hand trap against the meta, that Droll could be in some hands, and also is a pseudo protection against the Fuwalos. The only problem that has Droll is that if you are playing the Fissure and Shifter, it conflicts. So that's the principal problem.
Perfect. I think apart from that, we see some usual suspects here. We have seen Anima before, we have seen Cialantis before, so not much to comment there. And now the tier list that we have apart from Julio's is the list here from the Pondring, and he actually was on stream. He actually played on stream, and I'm gonna make sure to link to that match down below in the description. But he actually took even a different approach, because he played the Colossus package. He not only played Colossus, he also included Dominus Purge in the main deck. And not only that, he also included Underworld Goddess with IP.
And still with Bagooska.
And still with Bagooska. So we have a lot going on here. Julio, any comments on this one?
First at all, I think that the list is great, but why you should play other cards like Colossus over Bagooska? I mean, if Colossus is your first turn board, in case you don't respect other decks, in my case for this format was the same. I started Calling Fire every single round, I think that Bagooska isn't necessary. Talking about Dominus Purge, I think that card is great, in special for this tournament, because we see a lot of Castira hybrids version, in special the Castira Fiendsmith, and this one can play safely around Unicorn. Also, it's a great hand trap to respect Tempai. But in general, I don't like the hand trap approach, because the decks actually can play so easily around the hand traps. Purge in general for Ritual Beast is a great card, because you always have Stitch in graveyard, so you can use both effects. And something that I like on this version is the one copy of Ghost Ogre, that this is a great target for teleport. But in general, I don't like play the Ogre for teleport, because if you could make your standard combo, in general it's because you want that duel.
Yeah.
So the teleport for Ogre is just a win more often. We can see also that this player doesn't play any OTK line, he just played the Goddess. Also, he didn't play Anima. I don't like at all the IP, but IP in this table is just to kick one of the monsters that has the opponent to summon the Goddess. And in special, I don't like Trust in his deck. The Trust is a card that when you get stopped, you can have access for the barrier. But the problem is that a lot of decks play it cards like Impermanence and Impulse, and sometimes your deck just has stopped for one hand trap. And you need to have a better choice like a Flood Grip, that is the case of the Diffusor, or in my list that I played more Flood Grips to prevent that. I think that the Duster is fine. The other list played Linings. I see other guys playing it evenly. But for this format, the principal problem is that the fire decks make Vampire Zombie, show the deck that they are playing, and they use Flamberge effect to put a monster in your spell trap zone. And that denies the Evilly, the Lightning, and that's why I cut it completely. And I did another approach. But for the rest, I think that the list is great. Just I don't like have the mix with the Bagooska or Colossus. I think that are a lot of decisions to make the same. That is a good card to make in turn 1.
Perfect. All right, and now we have now we talk about these 3 lists, and we're going to talk a little bit more extensively about Julio's list. He actually went ahead and has the cards right here in my board. We can go through. He actually went ahead and played a deck list that is a kind of an evolution of what he has been working on for a bit now. And I think it will be really cool to showcase the list. Now we're gonna start with the main deck, and we're gonna go a little faster than normal. We're gonna cover the points that I think are interesting decisions making, mainly. And I still am waiting for my tier QCR Elder. I only have 2. Waiting for it in the mail, so hopefully I get here on time for the next video, you know. Hopefully before Julio top again.
In the next chapter, how to play around Lancia, guys.
There we go. 3 Kanahas, 3 Rampengo, and we have 4 in here. Now the last one here is Pettlephin. We're still on Pettlephin, Julio. I feel this card has gone back and forth for us.
I think that is a similar approach. In general, when a deck has the opportunity to have a removal in the engine, always I prefer have that opportunity. If you will see my deck list, I didn't play Cosmic, I didn't play Duster or Lightning, so my principal removals are the Dolphin and the Access Scope. Also, to respect impulse lines, sometimes you need an extra level force, and that's why always I keep the Dolphin.
Got it. So we have the Dolphin, really good. You know, it's a card that I've been debating in the past. I feel now most people are putting it in. I think it's definitely a card to consider. And we're gonna make fun of Jojo next time we see him with that one.
Also, the worst part is when you break with Ritual Beast, and I mean the most typical break is Inheritance without a Ritual Beast name.
Yep,
that's and Dolphin works in that case.
That is true. Yeah, I give you that extra name there just in case you need it. Alright, we have Nemesis package. This one I actually was able to get the bug QCR. We have the Shifter, and I only have one full Fuwaro, so you guys forgive me for the other two proxies here, but we have 3 Fuwaros, 3 Ash Blossom, and I think all this is very understandable. I think that's very straightforward. And why is here? We have the 3 Tellies. Now, I want to ask you about this, Julio, because I actually has a video coming out next week when you guys watch this, where we cover inheritance, and we cover maybe playing 2 inheritance for next format. Now, Julio, you were playing 3 inheritance, and we has kind of got used to seeing 3 inheritance. Have you thought about maybe switching this to 2 before?
I don't think so, because when you open with Inheritance and Teleport are the hands that can pass so easily Purulia. And also, the problem of these decks in general is the consistency. The only upside that you can have with the Inheritance is that you control a card and the first can have tag out, can get Impulse. But I mean, with a first Impulse, you can still doing something and get Restrictions. Just to prevent, and because these hands in the most of the case makes your starter hand more stronger, either going first or going second. That's why I play always the 3 Inheritance. Going second, you can put so easily the Lara in graveyard, and when you are playing against a Fire King version, you can prevent the Princess or the Kirin effects, and in damage step you can crash so easily the wind that we're still making resources.
That does make sense, yeah. Okay, so we're clear on the inheritance. Apart from that, we have Prosperity, 2 Book of Eclipse, and I found this. I want to ask you about this because we have some interesting ratios here. We have 2 Eclipse, 2 Dark Rulers, and I think these 2 are very straightforward. Why do we have 2 Eclipse and 2 Dark Rulers here?
Talking about Book of Eclipse, is a card that doesn't the best one for this format because the fire decks can make the disruption in graveyard or in hand, but it's a great hand trap. It's a great spell to prevent the hand traps like Impermanence, Veiler. But the principal case is when you are going second, you are playing Fuwalos, and inside deck I am playing also Purulia that we didn't see in the other list. And when you draw multiple copies of the same card, you only can use one in general. So you have more chances to flex the boards when you are opening cards that did something different. In Swiss, I won like 2 games losing the dice roll against Fire, just because I surprised with a Dark Ruler in main deck. And this card is great just because this deck in Memphis 1 can make the Protoss and clear everything. The principal approach of this deck is one time you use any hand trap like Shifter, Fuwalos, or the Purulia. I don't count As because As I think that is a bad hand trap in general when you are not playing a big number and only is there for Fuwalos or Purulia. I cut in every game going second the Ash Blossom except for Jubel or Tempike because I don't like the card. But that's the principal idea. Try to stop a little the board, and we are playing 4 breakers more in the side deck to make better the turn 2.
Perfect. I like a lot your explanation there. We want to get to the side deck in just a second. First, let's touch in the extra deck. And you guys see here, this should be 41 cards here. So he played 1/40, and I know we were talking before that the consistency might be an issue and that, but 41 seems to have been the golden number there. Now, let's go to the extra deck. We want to cover, most of these are very obvious. Most of these I think are very...
First of all, we have a meeting the last week post pre-Bologna, and I was playing 43 with the 3 Dark Ruler and the 3 Eclipse, and just for reduce the brick possibilities, I cut to 41.
Yeah. No, I remember we talked about that the Wednesday before. Yeah. Yeah, well, touching on that. Alright, we have 2 Kanahas, 2 Notches. I'm just gonna put it like this so we have more space for more cards in a second. 2 Kanahas, 2 Notches, Apelio, Guy Apelio, 2 Red Rotary, Julio. 2 Red Rotary, you're still in this boat. Why? Well, first of all, the second Red Rotary came up. Was it important that you play 2?
In general, it's because I need a psychic monster to vanish with the Rampengu.
Yeah.
And then I need to keep the Ultigalia in case I started with a lot of Ritual Beast names. Also, if you see the statistic, the European players for Fuwalos is played a huge number of Castira cards. When you special summon a unicorn and you Fuwalos your opponent, they will banish one of your monsters, and in the second turn will banish another more. What this means, if I see that my opponent played a heavy cards of numbers in his deck, I Fuwalos in trophies. Why? Because if you use a Fuwalos and get unicorn, he will banish your first Kanahau, and in your turn he will banish the second one, so you will lose immediately.
That's true, yeah.
So have the second copies of the important cards in a Castira hybrid format. I think that is perfect.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Actually, that made me think about some considerations I'm doing for next format. Next we have SP. Link Spider. I just want to ask you, be frank with me. How many times do you summon Link Spider?
One.
Oh my god.
And was for win, so yeah.
Okay, I guess the Link Spider has some value in the deck, yeah.
The problem is that when I see that my opponent impulse, I mean, okay, he can use Nif, but the Jubel's decks and also the hybrid version of Castira Finsmith is still on Nif. So yeah, I get Nif like 4 or 5 times in all the tournament. Yeah. So it worked. Yeah.
The Spider put some work in there. We have Skimu Falco, and I think at this point it's pretty much a staple that we're playing the chip. The crotchet.
Yeah, the ship, in general, I use it more going second than going first. Just because you can summon back the Purulia and Mulcharmy to get access to a rank for going second, and it's another link to banish with the access code, that I'm a huge fan of the access code.
Yeah, and actually, the access code here is still, we saw some lists just a second ago. There are different options that we can go for. Access code is just one of those. It's mostly preference at this point. If you play access code or not, it does provide you with better going second. You know, you get more to pop, you get OTK, the potential to OTK. I personally like it quite a bit. I know, Julio, you have been playing for a while. So.
Yeah. But also you need to check the difference of the Ritual Beast list. My list is the only one that doesn't play spell removal. But I play the Dolphin and the access code, so are other forms to removal cards.
That is true, yeah. Apart from that, we have the Banshee, and the card of the moment, the one we're gonna talk about, the one that is kind of winning over the hearts of Ritual Beast players now, is the Bagooska. Now, I want you to guide me through the decision process to putting Bagooska in the deck. Why is this card in here now? Why are we playing
it? When I was starting the deck for the Rage of the Abyss format, I tried to make the best decision when my opponent Fuwalos me on the typical Lara Vanish trigger, or when I got Puria and trophies, and I was testing what was the best decision to make, in that case getting the less draws as possible. And the response is Bagooska. Also, I got crazy in 2 rounds because they impair my Banshee, and I still link climbing and make later the Bagooska is possible to do. So that's a crazy decision, make the 2 rank 4s. Right. And also for the people that doesn't know how works Bagooska in this deck, you can put to attack position, try to kill your opponent. In case you don't kill your opponent with inheritance, you can put back to defense. So that's a great combo that you can make. Typical of OCG players.
Yep, that's an OCG player move, yeah. I find it so interesting that now we kind of merge into this point where we are in this mix of both styles of builds. We have Bagooska and we still has the Nemesis package, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Also, when I was studying the Ritual Beast players playing around Max Team OCG, and I mean, okay, now I understand why everybody is playing the Bagooska. It's just because it's the best spot there.
We wanna go back to the Bagooska later on in the video. First, let's cover a little bit the side deck here. And I think most of these decisions are understandable. I don't think there's much to go in depth in here, but we have the 3 Purulias. Now, Julio, we were in the retaliating seas. Why retaliating seas? Why 2 copies?
When you are not playing a huge number of hand traps, you need to take a strong hand trap for the format. In this case, the other one could be Draw and Lockbeard, or play ever more breakers. Retaliating is a great card in general to stop the Athamine Engine. In theory, it was a great card, but I didn't resolve in all the tournament against fire. Also, it's a level force that is great against using the rank force that we are playing, and I think that is a solid choice in general. Now that the tournament passed, maybe it could be other things, but I didn't have games to resolve the card.
Perfect. We have here the ruler, 3 diffusers, which we already speak about these ones. We already talk about the barrier. Now, I want to ask you, we saw some lists. We saw a list earlier that has anti-spell fragrance. And you, instead of anti-spell, you play Skill Drain and you play Tisibu. Why do we play these 2 cards in here?
The case of anti-spell, I play it on my work list because other staples were limited. When you get stopped by the hand traps or disruption of your opponent and you use anti-spell, in general you have a Kanahau pass. Your opponent will summon something, will destroy the Kanahau, and the top decks that you need, like a teleport, inheritance, will be useless. So, what cards are great to draw with these hand traps? These flood grids, Skill Drain and Tisibu. Tisibu is a special, very strong against Jubel and Tenpai, and this tournament that Tenpai has the 6 Mulcharmy in the main deck, the Impulse. This time I respect more Tenpai. I duel against 2 Tenpais, and I play the 3D barrier and the Tisibu, ever going first or going second against that paintings. And Skill Drain is a typical flood grid that you can use in the Ritual Beast decks, getting vintage with the Kanahau tagout because you can search the number of cards, and with the Skill Drain, all the people doesn't know, but the inheritance effect to decrease the stats of the opponent, you can use multiples to decrease the attack of your opponent, so you will go win in beatdown. Talking about Diffusor, my idea was play Diffusor going second. Why?
Oh, interesting.
When you resolve Shifter or Fuwalos or Purulia, the principal fire players will make a decision to make the Princess or board with Arbata and will keep any triggers in his hand. When you activate Diffusor, going second, if you resolve any Purulia or any Shifter, he doesn't play a removal because he isn't thinking in a flood grid when he's starting. And if the Arbata costs the Princess, will go Vanish. In case the Garunix is summoned, he can use Killing to pop other card. And a lot of hand traps become useless, just resolving a single Diffusor. And I think that is one of the best choices that I did in the tournament, side the Diffusors going second.
Interesting. Alright, and the last card here, the best card in the game.
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, you mentioned you didn't went to time. Do we think this is still needed? If you have to go back, would you replace it with something?
I think that is still necessary, at least if you play in Europe. In Europe, in special, we have the same time of rounds in Top Cut that in Swiss. And also, you will have a typical freeze game that will talk longer. In the Worlds, I have a duel one with 35 minutes. And I didn't get a battle facing game 3 and was necessary in that case.
Perfect. Alright, so here's the list. Now, one thing I want to touch on is something you mentioned before. Julio, you play 16 rounds. You play 16 rounds, probably on average, let's say some of the go to game 3, probably around 40 games. Now, in 40 games, I'm pretty sure you got Fuwalos. I'm pretty sure you got Purulia. And people keep
double
asking
Purulia.
me,
I got Purulia, I got double Fuwalos.
And I am wondering if you can, because you actually mentioned a couple of times that you have some tech, that you do some stuff when you get Purulia, when you get Fuwalos. And I was thinking we can actually look into that a little bit. Now, for once, one we get Purulia, one we get Fuwalos, we do have some cards to play around it, because I know if you shifted your opponent, obviously that's sort of like a pseudo counter, because if they cannot play, I mean, they're basically in the same issue that you are now. So since we have these cards in the game, I was wondering if you can like help us show some things that we can do against them.
Okay.
So I was thinking we can go over some of the combo lines that you suggest for Fuwalos for Purulia. Alright, Julio, you play a lot of matches. You play around 40 games. And I'm pretty sure you go Fuwa, I'm pretty sure you go Purulia quite a bit. So, how do we deal with this? And we're gonna have two different hands. We're gonna try with two different hands, the Elder Kanaha. We're gonna try also with the using the Lara and using the Rampengu that we have here. So we're gonna try a couple of different hands, see how Julio will approach this, because this is something that people keep asking me about. How do I do if I get Purulia? How do I do if I get Fuwalos? Well, let's see how Julio will solve this, because it is complicated, and that's the reason I normally make a video about it, because it is complicated, it's difficult. Now, one thing I want to mention, before we move forward is that if you have in your hand an extender, or if you have Italy, or if you have inheritance, this will change, okay? If you have Italy or inheritance, it will be easier because you can change the Italy, you get a free body, or the inheritance put a body on the grave, okay? So we're gonna do it without it. But just so you know, there is ways, and I'm pretty sure you guys, once you see this, you're gonna be able to more or less figure out the lines with inheritance, if I get Italy, all that stuff. No?
Okay, so in this case, we will start anyways with Elder Kana, because we will think that our opponent is with Fuwalos in hand. At this point, we will try to check the extract in case we need something, and the opponent, when do that, we'll use the Fuwalos.
Yeah.
So at this point, we will use the Kanaho effect to banish the Lara. And we will trigger the Lara effect to summon Rampengu in this case.
Interesting.
Why Rampengu? Because Rampengu is the card that will get a recovery, sending the Lara to the graveyard. So at this case, I will banish the second copy of the Ultra Ratari. I will send the Lara, and we will use the Rampengu and the Kanahau to make the Bagooska. With this single board, we get only 2 draws to your opponent and their Fuwalos, their 1 draw for Lara. We have the Elder in defense because it was by Bagooska effect. In case our opponent tries to destroy the Elder, we can banish the Lara in graveyard, summon Winda from the deck, so we have a better protection. And we freeze with Bagooska the typical cards like Black Witch that prevents to get Athamina or ever against Tempai. And this is the most standard line that you can make. We can try to get a 3rd or 4th draw, getting the Stitch. Making a dugout, but this depends if in case your hand is weak or not. If your hand already has a good disruption in your hand, or cards like I see players that were playing handtraps, you can make a solid choice with that. In my list, we have the Explosion also as a counter, but in other case that we draw, for example, Shifter, the best choice that you can make at this point is just don't get drops to your opponent. You can make a Shifter, you get only 1 draw for your opponent, that is make the Kanahau, search the trap, you can banish other 2 for Nochu Draco, and you will stay with a lot of recovery, and it's the good approach. In side deck, we have a better strategy against the Fuwalos. If we see we are playing a lot of Floodgates that will rely on the turn to prevent our opponent instead of playing. Against Tempai, in case you have a Skill Drain or Tikabu, you will skip. Tikabu only I play against Jubel and Tempai, and not against Fireking, because they have anyways a form to remove. And also we are playing the Debarger, that is another good card that gets us the free turn. That plus the 3 Ash Blossom and Colby are the best spot that we can make. Also, the other case was the Elder Kanahau, in case we got the Fuwalos on the Lara Resolve. That's a different spot that we have here. Yeah. In that case, it depends if we started with Elder Rampengu or Elder Kanahau, because with Elder Rampengu, we have the possibility to use the Lara in a different form. For example, if we start with Elder Rampengu, we will start Elder Rampengu, send the Lara. At this point, he will Fuwa instantly. Lara in graveyard in this case.
Oh yeah. With Ray.
With Ray, yeah. We have here a different approach in case we need more disruptions. The first one is make Ulticana and tag out to send the monster for the extra deck, so we will get a draw in this case. But we will search at this point the trap, the seeds. That is the principal disruption that we have at this moment. Later, we will use again Rampengu's abilities to send another monster. That is we need a level 4, so Kanahau is fine if we need. Banish that. Now we'll use Noku Draco, banishing the Lara and the Kana. You get the 2 draw to your opponent at this point. And here, this depends if you need a body or not in field. You can tag out the Noku Draco, summon the Kanahau from Banish Stone, use the Kanahau here to banish another card that we need to make a recovery. I prefer here the Apelio because you can summon later, triggering the Lara for comeback. And here you still getting 3 draws and you still on Bagooska Stitch, that I think that is a pretty nice onboard for the Ritual Beast that in general don't have the tools that has other decks to respect the Fuwalos.
Okay.
That's with 3 cards more in hand.
Yeah. Now we have to mention here, just what Julio mentioned, with this you still have 3 more cards in hand, which that's the thing with the deck. If you look at the deck list, the 3 cards in hand are gonna be or extenders or are gonna be interruptions for your opponent. So this will improve. So one of 2 things, or it will be better because we have one of these, or we're gonna have like Shifter or something else, and that is more interruptions against your opponent. So while this doesn't look that impressive, it's way more than what it looked like, you know? You have 2 interruptions here plus 3 cards in hand, and if you have some of the other tools and you have your extenders, that will be even something better, no?
Yeah, but also the principal counter of this table is that you respect the talents. So the opponent, what will do to remove this is make a link 1 and then try to make SP. Yeah. You pop the first link that he summoned with the trap.
Yeah.
And then you get a free turn back.
That's
also,
true.
you will detach a material. So detaching a material means that you will have the Elder plus a Tamer, and at that point you can still make the combo.
That's so true, yeah, because the one solution to this is a speed. Speed require 2 monsters. So you just pop one of them. Oh my
if
God.
we can explain, for example, the 1 Kanahau line, that is in case you open only Kanahau. You will normal summon the Kanahau. You will use at this point the banish to Lara. And here you will activate the effect and your opponent will Fuwalos you instantly. So here you have the time to change the target to summon with the Lara and will be the Rampengu in this case. And Rampengu will get the recovery for the next turn that will send another Lara to the graveyard, banishing the second copy of the Ultra Auratari. Here, this will be the first draw to your opponent. And we have again the 2 level 4s to make the typical Bagooska pass. And this line is pretty good because the opponent only draw with 1 card more, and when the turn skips, you will detach a material, and you have the Lara trigger in graveyard with the Kanahau to make again the full combo, and that's crazy. That's
Perfect.
crazy.
Perfect.
Also, Bagooska can adapt in this case to Purulia more easily than Fuwalos. That's why we are playing a lot of Flood Rays only to respond against the Fuwalos. Also, when I draw Ash Blossom, I did keep the Ash Blossom in hand ever if my opponent used Purulia, because Bagooska with Ash Blossom steal a note ever with the with the steals, and also he can steal with Purulia plus Fuwalos. And Fuwalos is the worst place, because you will see now 2 different methods to get 0 draws under Purulia.
So, that's so interesting. Okay, so we're Purulia. I don't know which line do you want to start with? I feel
the better ones is the lines that you open with a level force. For example, Rampengu Teleport. Rampengu Teleport, I think that is pretty easy. Get advantage with this. First of all, your opponent will start with Purulia in draw phase. You will start chaining a teleport in your own draw phase. So you can summon Lara, and in main phase 1, you can set the Rampengu, and set doesn't get the draw.
Yeah.
At this point, you can make the principal contact fusion of these 2 monsters to make the Ulti Kanahau. And the Lara will trigger, summon the Kanahaus from the main deck. At this point, you can use Lara Kanahau ability to banish Winda from your deck. You can make the Kanahau effect, sending the Lara and Rampengu to the graveyard, not using the second part of Kanahau. This is important.
Oh, interesting. So you don't use it?
I don't use it at this point, yeah. You search the trap card. Now you banish the 2 monsters in your graveyard for Nokia Draco. Now you can tag out your own Kanahau to summon the Winda and the Rampengu. You will use Rampengu to get the Lara in graveyard at this point. That is the same that we did with the single Kanahau line to get the recovery. And we have here Rampengu Kanahau for Bagooska. And this table is better because you have double pop, your opponent didn't draw a card, you have the protection in graveyard for Lara, and Winda is a beater, so in case he gets destroyed. We can talk in case your hand is decent. This is a note, but we can get only 1 draw to your opponent and make a better board in this case. So we will put back the teleport and the Kanahau and the Rampengu, sorry, in this case. We can start here with teleport again for teleport for the Lara. Lara, now you set the Rampengu as always.
Set.
And now you contact fusion with the monster face down. Okay. At this point, we can use the Kanahau. Lara will trigger. You summon at this moment the Kanahau. Still the same that the other one. You will use right now the monster, and you will banish the Winda. Winda is fine. And at this point, you will use Kanahau, but this time you will tag out. And you will summon Winda plus Rampengu, and you will send the Lara to the graveyard. Yeah. Now you will search the Stitch. Yeah, the Stitch is a good card, and you will send a level force with the Rampengu. So you will banish the Apelio at this moment, and you will send Apelio.
I forgot to send the Renotari at the start.
Yeah, it's fine.
There we go.
I think that we didn't because we set the.
Oh, we said it. Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm so used to activating the effect.
yeah. So now you send the Apelio, and now we use the recent Ritual Beast technology, and we use Kanahau and the Rampengu for cross ship.
Oh, I see what we're doing here.
Keep better the Rampengu and use the Winda. Sorry, keep better the Rampengu and use the Winda. Yeah. Now we will use the Ultra Ratari, banishing the Winda and the Kanahau. So we can summon back the Apelio that already sent by cross ship. Here we can use a Link 4. We're using a cross ship, Ultra Ratari, and what is the other name? The Rampengu. Rampengu is fine. Yeah, Rampengu. And at this moment, you will make the Ultra Ratari. Ultra Ratari will take back the Kanahau. You will normal summon the Kanahau. This is the first draw that gets your opponent. So here you banish the Kanahau to get another name that you don't want to see. You can banish the Dolphin, you can banish any tamer. The Dolphin is an example. Yeah, banish the Dolphin is fine. And now you can banish with Apelio the Rampengu for the next turn. It's fine to get the possibility. And you have the 2 monsters in board to make a Bagooska.
Yep.
So we did a play that is safer. I see that too in his channel did a play different that is more risky around hand traps, because he used a Banshee to send instantly to add the Nemesis flag and later summon back with the cross ship. But when I am playing in a format with a lot of hand traps, this table
this is really good.
Has the possibility in any moment to, in case cross ship didn't work, I can tag out the Nochi and still making the Bagooska with the trap in any moment. And in case he doesn't open other hand trap, I can still making the Bagooska Reuratari plus trap. Yeah. So in the contact, we will use Stitch at this point. Then we will use Ultra Reuratari, banish the Ultra Reuratari. And in the comeback, we have the possibility to detach a material that will be the Kanahau with the Bagooska. And Noku Draco can special summon back the Noku Draco from the banish.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So if with the last banish, we can banish this, tag out, summon the monster. So if we didn't draw any card of recovery, Lara also will triggers, etc.
All that stuff.
We can still making the full combo, and that's why I think that the Bagooska is another great approach in this case against the Purulia.
Wow, this is really impressive stuff, you know. This is really good. And I find it interesting because, you know, for the longest time we have been playing the Nemesis package, and the issue with this package was that when you make it, you have to get them draws, 1 draw, you have to get them 2 draws right away. And if they get a hand traps for the Protoss, then you do not achieve much. So this is so much better. I like it a lot. Yeah.
And the other typical hand is the Inheritance. Inheritance is less impressive in this case. If we are talking about the Kanahau one line, you can still making something decent. But this case we will start with Inheritance plus a Spiritual Beast monster. Rampengu, for example, could be other example in this hand. We will start with Inheritance. Inheritance, you can reveal Rampengu. You can add Lara at this point. Send Lara to the graveyard. Set the Rampengu.
Oh, wait,
don't get the draw.
Wait. So are we using Lara effect here?
No, not. I mean.
Oh, the Inheritance. Oh my god.
Yeah, the Inheritance card. Yeah. You said. Yeah. And at this point, you use the Noku Draco instantly. Noku Draco. So with Noku Draco, we have a similar spot that the other ones. You can still summon the Kanahau. Can still summon the Kanahau. Kanahao at this point can banish Winda, for example, could be the same one. This is the same approach that the other one. If we want to get any draws to make another body, we will use Nokyu to summon back the Lara. Now you can make the contact. And here you can still making Kanahao, tag out, put Lara in graveyard. You can special summon 2 level force, that the 2 level force are the same, and that is have another name in graveyard. Here you can add, for example, if I open with Itili, I add Stitch because I summon the Ritual Beast monster in the opponent's turn and I have a target. In other case, I got recovery, and if I got to get another draw to my opponent, I add in this case the Kanahao. You can use right now the effect of Rampengu to banish Apelio. Okay. Wait a second. In case we don't to get more draws, summon Winda here is fine. In case that we want to get one draw, we need to banish another tamer with the Kanahao. For example, change that Winda for a Gwen. In case we want to get a draw.
Yeah. Okay, this still we're gonna do that still. Just that it's gonna change to a Gwen.
It's difficult sometimes to explain the deck because any decision that you make changes everything in any moment.
Change everything else. So,
so in this case, you can still make in Link 2 for the monster that is the Kimon. Okay, you can make banish the Apelio here at this point. And extra normal summon the Kanahao. You can use Kanahao effect, banish right now the Winda. And now you have one body more. That is this one. So in case you open like a teleport or line, you can still end in on Bagooska plus 2 traps in this approach. Also, you will still banishing another name with the Apelio. And I think that this is the approach.
I put this back into the deck, my bad.
Yeah. So this depends of what you open. In general, is Bagooska pass. If you open a teleport, you can still make in Kanahao plus trap plus Bagooska, that I think that is perfect. And always having a Lara in graveyard for protect.
Yeah. Interesting. So something like this. This one, so
yes, keeping the Winda in case.
Because it has the floating effect. Yeah. So. Yeah, this seems really good. I mean, for giving your opponent one card, so they're gonna be they're gonna still be starting with 5. Having protection in graveyard, Bagooska, and just Stitch to pop the monster that's gonna make the SP. This is perfect reasonable, you know.
Yeah, Stitch wasn't in hand at this point. We changed the ad for Kanahao. But I mean that this depends if we have an extender. We only did that with a single inheritance plus Rampengu. So other hands that we needed, for example, if we have already other monster, we can use the Lara instead for the extra normal summon and set the other monster. So we'll have the other monster that we need for the ulti Kanahao. The complexity of this deck is that you need to flex your hands for any starter hand that you have. I think that never I did the same play in all the tournament because you need to adapt to every single hand trap.
Perfect. But I do think that this is very useful if you guys are looking for patterns that you can follow. Like, okay, this is the play that we did with the Kimu Falco, you know, bringing it back, summon the monsters. And knowing one thing that you try to do against the Purulia is that you have to stop at one point, no? At one point you have to decide, okay, Bagooska, a monster, that's good. Or Bagooska, as Stitch, a monster, that's good. Or just Bagooska. Depending on your hand, and I know something that you mentioned, Julio, that I think is very important, is that it's gonna depend a lot on what you have in hand. the interactions you have in hand change the way that you play against these two cards. So alright, so those are some really interesting options to go and play around Fuwalos and Purulia. Now I know you guys always ask me about this, and things important to mention is that you have to know that you're not going to be able to do everything you want. Okay, so if these cards are thrown, you don't try to go for Nemesis, Protoss, all that stuff. Try to build a board that is more or less something that will be able to withstand the opponent's turn. And that's where cards like, if you're able to climb to Red Rotary, you go ahead and do that. But more importantly, using something simpler with Bagooska and having Bagooska and maybe another monster on the field with the trap, something like this could be a decent enough board, especially if you have recovery on the graveyard. And remember that whatever Bagooska has underneath goes to the grave, and that gives us materials for Noshi. So just keep in mind that these things can be a little intimidating, because you always want to build the whole board, but passing is something simplified, especially if you have a way to deter the SP that they're gonna use to get rid of the Bagooska is important, and stuff like this is really good. Alright, Julio, any last word, any last thing you want to mention before we move away from playing around the Mulcharmys here?
Yeah. Also, another cool interaction that we have with Bagooska is the fissure that we are playing on side deck.
Oh yeah.
The extreme materials with the runings go to the graveyard instantly or go vanish. So the same recovery approach in side deck gets better. I mean, sometimes Bagooska in game 1, if you are not prepared for the Fuwalos, isn't a note, but a Fuwalos against Bagooska the fissure, you will have a recovery anyways with the two materials in the graveyard, and that's something crazy.
That's very important to remember, yeah. Alright, I think we covered the Fuwalos. That's something I really wanted to cover with you. And I think apart from this, I just want to ask you, and let me switch the layouts that we have here. I just want to ask you, Julio, anything else that caught your eye, any other plays that you made over the weekend, anything else that you feel is important to mention for somebody that is going to play the deck now or looking to the coming format?
I think that is very general, but this is for the beginners. Winda is the best card that has this deck for going second. Try to crash the Winda using the Lara in damage step to don't get as Blossom or Impulse, and crash also the Winda in the damage step to prevent that cards. And in general, I see that a lot of people tries to make the best plays as possible, but it isn't the same. Learn all the combos that plays in the real tournament. In a real tournament, you need to make basic things that works well. I mean, when you start with the deck, what is your preference? Have a starter. Later, find the Lara. No, you need another level force, and then try to search the Tamer that moves with the Graveyard or the Vanish Stone. With all that sentences in the mind, you need just to play the quickly as possible the deck and try to adapt for every single disruption. Take a dice in your home, try to play every single hand against Troll, against Ash Blossom in the first hand trap, against Impulse, and that's how you will improve with the decks and not only learning the combos.
Yeah, that's for sure. And apart from that, I'm glad you mentioned other hand traps. If you guys want to see other hand traps, I made a video long time ago. I made a video where we cover Baylor, we cover what happened if you get Impen, Droll, all that stuff. That's a video I'm gonna put in the description. It's a little old, but still it has a lot of good information for you guys. And for Nibiru, there is plenty of lines that we can do around Nibiru. Some of them are in the spreadsheet, which is also gonna be in the description. So we have plenty of tools, and remember, to all this stuff that we show, it's gonna change depending on your hand. And remember that while this is advice, it's just a rule of thumb. It really depends on your hand at the time. If some hands has more defensive options than others, and if you have more cards in hand that are defensive, if you shifted your opponent, there is no reason why to give them a bunch of draws, so just keep that stuff in mind. Apart from that, Julio, any last comment, any last thing you want to mention about the deck or anything in general?
In general, I think that the deck has future. I have a step in this format when I drop completely the deck. I don't will say the other choice, but by the time when I see that this deck has any opportunity to play against the Fuwalos and the meta, I believe that this deck can still work in crossover.
I'm feeling the same way, you know. I'm kind of getting hints the same way. It seems like every time there is a format change, like we lose a Palooza and everybody was like, oh my god, how are we gonna play the deck now? The Fuwalos came out and everybody was like, oh my god, how are we gonna play? Purulia's out, how the deck's gonna survive? And look at that, 6 Ritual Beast players in top 64 in an event. The most successful top 64 for Ritual Beast since the deck was released, and it came in a format with Fuwalos, without a Palooza, and with all these big threats in the format. So I have no doubt that Crossover Breaker is gonna still be a format where we can compete if you guys wanna stick with the deck. Now, if you're thinking about Crossover Breaker, next week I have a video where I met with Cory, that is somebody that do back-to-back top regionals, and Jojo, that you guys might know from the Top Decks channel. I will talk about that, and that's coming out next week, okay? Apart from that, right before we leave, Julio, I know you have made videos, you stream too. How can people find more about you?
In my Spanish channel, Julio Valss. Also, I did a Ritual Beast deck profile in English, explaining the list of Bologna in Julio Valss Inc. But the rest is fine. The streams in Julio Valss Yu-Gi-Oh!
Perfect, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna keep track. We're gonna see, I know you love the deck a lot, so we're gonna see what you come up with for next format. We're gonna see what we come up to together, you know. And also in the channel, we're gonna start moving a lot because I really like the Malice deck, so we're gonna start looking into that next week. All right, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this content, please give it a like. I know there's a lot of effort going into this. Julio was kind enough to give us an hour of their time, so really appreciate you guys give it a like. If you have any questions for us, please post in the comments below. Apart from that, feel free to go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy this content, or if you're looking forward to any Crossover Breaker content, which I'm gonna release in the coming week. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day. Thank you.